Hello there, adventurers, and welcome back to another episode of Neon's Game Night. Tonight, we are taking a look at the full release of the whimsical RPG game Baladins. Developed by Seed and published by Armor Game Studios. I actually got this game as a review copy provided to me by Stride PR working for Armor Game Studios, so I greatly appreciate the code there. And this was a game that I played back in the February Next Fest demo-a-thon, and I was really interested in it, wanted to put some more time into it, and I'm really excited to be able to cover it here on the channel. Multiple times, I'm sure. This is the first of that time where I've played a decent bit of the game already. I'm about halfway through the story progression here, as you can see on this bar here from my first campaign. I've completed what are 13 loops. I'll be able to explain some of that in a minute, but I've done a decent bit of the game so far and experienced quite a lot, and so I'm going to be able to kind of give my general thoughts on the way that the game works, as well as give you some impressions on how the game plays. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? So we're going to continue our current save. That is our campaign 1. And I'm not sure exactly how much more we really do have, but when you start each loop, the game, I should describe, the game functions on a bit of a time loop process. So you get about 6 loops or 6 turns each loop, and after that you get taken back to the beginning and you do the loop over again. So it's a bit of a roguelike in that element, in that you're kind of repeating some content. You're trying to get better knowledge, better gear, better equipment in order to progress further with your next loop. But before all that, you start out by choosing your Baladin, which is a group of artists and such that are part of a guild that are called the Baladins. And I've only ever played as the cook, because it gives a lot of Samwise Gamgee vibes from The Lord of the Rings. So that's really hard for me to not choose, because he's got the big frying pan and everything like that, and he just looks like he's a determined cook if you look at him. So I've actually never played with any of these other characters, but each of these different characters have different attributes here. And these attributes will determine how you can interact with various quests within the game. My cook here is great at this specific skill here that's called creation, because he can create some really good food items, right? So as you can see, these different characters have different strengths. This one is very good at is just very strong. This is the sort of the strength attribute. The Luxomanther is really smart. This is the like sort of lore or intelligence attribute. The Bard, this is the finesse attribute, so they're really good at that. So each of these characters have specific strengths and weaknesses that can help them in different interactions within the game. Now, as you can see, this is sort of set up to provide a bit of a synergy with different other characters by way of multiplayer. So if you have more people in your party, the easier it is going to be to go through different encounters, because if you have 4 different characters with 4 different strengths, you're more than likely going to be able to, go through those encounters a bit easier. I have not encountered a single thing so far that I have not been able to do as a solo character, although there is a bit of a difference in progression for how things go with a solo character. If you're playing solo, you're going to probably have to do you're going to rely a lot more on knowledge than you would otherwise be able to with a party of 4 and just being able to go through encounters. You might have to know when the best time is to do training and to get upgrades that can help you bolster these stats, which you can do throughout the course of each loop. You can buy different items that help you bolster these attributes. Right now, I have this item here that gives us 2 finesse. This one is also going to give us a couple more movement points, but I'll be able to explain that more once we get in. I've done a bit of talking here, so let's go ahead and get started here. Once you get farther along into the game, depending on how many regions you've gone to, you can sort of select your starting region as you go through these different loops. At first, you just start with this region of Moliak. But for now, we're going to start here in Hortigard, because we're actually going to be using this as a stepping point to go to a brand new region that we'll experience together. Just before we get going, I suppose I should mention that this video might contain some slight spoilers for the story, just due to the nature of going into new territory and seeing some new content. That could be some stuff that you might want to see for yourself. So if what I've talked about already is interesting to you, make sure to check out the game down in the description down below. It'll link you to the store page. You should definitely check this game out. I think it's a very, very good, very well done RPG experience. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the adventure with Baladins. Alright, so here's Alda. Here we go again. If you didn't go yet, you can meet Honorata and ask her for help. She's the head mage of the Spellhold of Lumensac, north of Hortigard. You should try to find old wax cylinders from the guild's archives. Maybe there are some out there in the wild. And there are probably some stored at the Spellhold of Lumensac as well. If by any chance you find one, bring it back to me. There are only chance to discover the truth. Good luck, my dear Baladins. Alright, so we are here starting in Hortigard, which is one of the cities of the game. There's at least 4 regions that I know of. I don't know if there's more beyond Lumensac, which is the last region that I haven't been to yet. But there's Moliak, there's Hortigard, there's Merzakon, I believe it's what it's called. And Lumensac is where we're going to be going next. So what we're doing here, the aim of this currently is to get some information on how to defeat a sort of time dragon. To put this a bit into perspective, the game opens with this big rift happening and this dragon coming through and consuming time. And what that basically means is at the end of each loop, you get about 6 turns to go through different quests, to accumulate knowledge, stuff like that. And then this time dragon, Kolobra, comes back and consumes time, in a sense, and takes you back to the beginning of the loop. So our job right now, we've done a couple different things to try and figure out what we might be able to do, but right now we are looking for these lost archives that the Baladins used to have that might indicate some way for us to defeat this dragon. And we've gone down to Merzakon and asked for these sort of wax seals, these things in the archives, and we haven't been able to find them. So our only hope is to really go to Lumensac, and that's what both of these quests are having us do, is to go to Lumensac, north of Hortigard, to see if we can find these things. Along the way, you can find rumors and pick up a bunch of different side quests here that are all of these. There's still quite a few that I haven't found yet. and that I have not completed fully. But what I really love about the way that the game displays these quests is because it's a time loop. You can play through these quests more than once, and you can get different endings depending on the choices that you take through them. And it displays what endings and what rumors that you have found corresponding to that quest here on the quest log page. And I think that's a really, really good way to track all of that. To sort of give you a sense of like aspiration to see that like, oh, okay, I've never gotten the ending for this Dragon Slayer quest, but here are the rumors that I've collected along the way that are associated with it. So that gives you ideas for maybe where you can go next in terms of trying to find answers to these questions and to hopefully get to an ending, which I think it's really well laid out, and I think it really creates a great sense of side questing that you don't see in some games. And also, um, once you get a good end, even if you get a good ending, the ability to kind of go back and explore what might be there for what the bad endings might be, that can come to be able, that can help you sort of see what kind of different outcomes there might be for these different quests. And likewise, the reverse is also true. It's very easy to go through a region, find these quests, get a bad ending, and then start to wonder, well, how can I find a good ending for this quest? What could I have done differently that you can sort of explore in future loops? So I really love how the way questing is done in this game, in that sense, that you're really able to rely less on combat and a bunch of stats and more on knowledge. It feels a little bit more like a puzzle game that way, in the sense that you have to really understand the mechanics of the game and understand what the quest is asking for to find a proper solution for it. But we've stayed stationary for a little bit too long now. Let's go ahead and move over here to go to Lumensac. So I'm going to move over here. I'm going to select this point to move, and your little character moves across this game world. And each time you move, you consume these movement points. You have these two different things called movement points and action points here at the top. Yes, I'll explain this here in the next screen, but we do want to travel to Lumensac. You have these movement points here and then action points. The movement points dictate how much you can move around the map here. And as you can see, the sort of art style for the game is just gorgeous and really gives this great sense of sort of tabletop, whimsical role playing that is A, very cozy, but also B, gives it a ton of character that just kind of makes you just want to stay around for a while and keep talking to people and exploring this little world. So movement points dictate how much you can move on the map. And that is one of the things that this item that we have here, this cart model, gives us. It gives us +1 movement points. Typically, you only have 4 of these, just like you do with the action points. So that's another layer of how the strategy comes into play. Oh my goodness. Oh, apologies for that, folks. The game just crashed, so we're back now where we were. And where we left off, I believe I was talking about the movement points and action point system. So the movement points and action points creates an extra layer of strategy for kind of how you need to maneuver through each loop. You only get a certain amount of movement points per loop per turn. You only get a certain amount of action points per turn, and you only have a certain amount of turns for each loop. So you kind of have to strategize to use all of those as efficiently as possible. But since we have an extra one because of this item, that's going to help us out a lot in giving us just some extra opportunities here. So now that we're here in Lumensac, I've never actually been here before. And as you can see, the the whole board it's definitely made to sort of feel like a sort of tabletop board game to play, which I imagine is extremely apparent in co-op play. But even in single player, the way that the game is sort of laid out and you interact with the game feels really good to interact with, and feels really cozy, and gives a real fun sense of like tabletop exploration. All right, so we can go to this old tower. We only have one movement point left. So we can go to this old tower, we can take this route here that won't get us super far, or we can go to Mornaz. This looks like a coastal town. So I think what we'll do, actually, this is Lumensac properly. This is the actual place that we're wanting to go for the main quest. But I think what we're going to do instead is we're going to take this route this way to, what's this place called? Mornaz. Let's go there. Alright, and there it says, you encounter a Luton running from something. So that little exclamation point that popped over our head indicates that we hit sort of a random encounter. And you can encounter random encounters as you're traversing the overworld, and that usually takes you into a screen like this where you have a bit of dialogue and some kind of scenario to maybe overcome. Alright, so let's see what there is here. Poten says, quick, Baladin, help me. Fishers from Mornaz are chasing me. No time to explain. Help me hide. This Luton might be a criminal. Choose wisely. So, these different encounters give you different choices, whether you can accept or decline helping characters out, or sort of what action you can take in this situation. And right now, we're going to just, let's accept trying to hide this guy. All right, bring me to my friends under the spell hold, quick! And the Luton jumps into your bag. You obtained a Poten. So, there are Lutons living under the spell hold. It would be a good idea to investigate. Okay, and so there, I'm imagining we picked up a quest. Yes, we did pick up a quest here. The Rising Tide. You met a Luton running from Mornazhans. They want you to bring them to Spellhold, where their friends live. So we picked up this Poten, and he gives us actually an extra movement point, which is nice, because that gives us more turns. So that's really cool. But for now, let's go ahead and go into Mornaz and see what we can do here. And so once you get into different towns, different cities, different locations, you're greeted with this interface here, where you can do various things in the town. You can talk to people here under this chat bar. You can do different practices, which what this does is it raises one of your attributes up here. So based off of these different things, we'll train different attributes. So you can clean the boats in order to get your destruction level up. You can eat local food that raises your creation, or you can do a challenge option, which you have to roll a dice for, which is what this is about. This says, so for your physique skill, this is going to test your physique skill, and what this number indicates next to this physique is the roll that you need to make in order to succeed this challenge. So this challenge for picking up the seaweed requires a roll of 11 physique. Once you have, if you choose to do this, some dice will be rolled to see what your roll will be compared to this 11, and then you'll add your base attribute stat to that roll. And if it's over 11, you succeed. If it's under 11, you fail. The challenge option can get you more experience. So let's say if you were to do this, Terminally Nerdy is playing Final Fantasy XIV. Hope he's having a good time. If you were to succeed in this challenge, you're able to possibly get more attribute gains. Usually with these practices, you would increase this attribute, this destruction attribute, by 1 every time you do it. So that's what the action points take care of. So whether it's practices, whether it's challenges, or chatting with the locals, that is what takes your action points. So that's the extra layer there where you need to sort of choose wisely and decide what you want to do. Since we're here, let's go ahead and chat to this Sozig character. A stranger and a Baladin nonetheless. Where are we? Don't you know we're in Mornaz? The home of righteous, honest, and strong fishers. Here we live by the sea, for the sea, and it ain't easy every day. We're nothing like those cowards from Blumensack. Do you need any help? Help? Do I look like I need help? I'm not like those stupid Lumensackians always complaining. They can complain, alright, but they stole the Spellhold from us. It was built by us Mornazhans. I'm sure there is plenty of evidence at the Spellhold's library, but they're hiding it. Why am I talking about this already? And we picked up another quest from that interaction as well, called Chauvinism, where the rumor corresponding with that is Lumensack and Mornos have been fighting for generations to claim the construction of the Spellhold. Try to find the truth at the Spellhold's library. So, Spellhold is actually where we need to go for this Out of the Loop quest. Maybe not this one, but at least this one. So we'll have to go there. We have a couple quests now to go to Spellhold for. But we can also buy stuff from her. Let's give that a shot. So these items, there's different merchants throughout the world where you can buy different potions. And these potions will help, or what can help bolster these different attributes, which can come in very handy at different points to help you sort of get past a tough roll after you find out sort of maybe what you need for a particular loop. I think that's been one of the most interesting elements of playing through the game, is kind of deciding what quests I want to go for completing each loop, and kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to need in order to complete it in a good manner, whether it's completing other quests in order to help this quest, or trying to train a specific attribute that I know is going to come up with that quest. This is where the potions can come in handy a lot. I don't think we're going to purchase one right now. We only have, you start out with 10 gold. There are ways that you can bolster that based off of different quests you do, but I think we might not get anything. If anything, I think we might buy one potion. Let's go ahead and buy a physique potion. You obtained a sealed potion, and you lost 2 gold. All right, perfect. Let's leave. And then since we're here, we got one more movement point, but since we're here, let's go ahead and raise our stats a bit. We have pretty good creation, so we don't really need to eat the local food and get that up. Let's clean the boats to raise our destruction. The boats always come back to shore full of seashells. You spend the day working at the harbor. Scratching barnacles off the holes is hard but satisfying. I gained +1 destruction and +1 gold. Sometimes you can get gold by doing these different practices. During your lunch break, you can hear 2 dockers chatting. Have you heard of the gargoyle? The one that terrorizes Lumensack? I've heard of it. It's scary. Did you know that gargoyles were mere statues back in the days? And what, a failed experiment brought them back to life? Maybe, but some say they just woke up one day, just like that. The Spellhold is full of magic, so It's not really a surprise. That's the other thing that can happen during doing the practices, and why it's worthwhile to do the practices is you can get the different rumors that can help flesh out some of the quests. It doesn't look like we actually picked one up from that rumor, but that can help you sort of decide where you might want to go next and how you might want to go forth in getting new knowledge, acquire new quests, stuff like that. So let's go ahead and do it again. Clean the boats, because we need more destruction than we need creation. We spend the day working at the harbor. Yes, yes, yes. We're now at 4 creation, and we got back to our 10 gold. So we've already made up what we spent on this sealed potion. As you can see here, you can go to your character and you have your inventory of what all you have on you. And this potion will give us +3 physique after you consume it. Just for our last action point here, let's go ahead and do the challenge, just so you can see what that looks like. We're going to try to pick up the seaweeds, and the title here, the description here says, "They say treasures lie beneath the thick coat of seaweed on the beach." You spend some time digging into the seaweed on the beach. And so here's the dice roll that happens. We rolled an 8, and it was +2 with the physique. So we didn't actually pass it. We were supposed to get an 11. So let's see what happens. You rolled an 8 +2 physique. You find nothing, and the smell of rotting algae makes you sick. Right, so you can sometimes also find good things that way. Other times, if you just fail, there isn't really any punishment. But if we were to have won that, perhaps we would have found some item. We could have found some gold, get some extra benefits to our attributes. But that isn't what happened there. Since we're out of action points now, we can't do anything here on the town level. You can't select characters and try to talk to them. If you're trying to turn in a quest and you have no action points left, you can't turn that quest in until the next turn. But we do have, since we picked up our potent here, we do have one more movement point. So I think we can use that to go ahead and get closer to Spellhold before we have to end the turn. So let's go ahead and do that. Once you are completely exhausted of action points and movement points, all you can really do is end your turn down here. And what that'll do is that'll advance time by 1 week and give you a new turn full of movement points and action points. And all of your attributes carry over from the previous week. There's a part of me that finds the aspect of it being, that each turn being a week, seems fairly odd, in the sense that it doesn't seem like all of the actions that you would do, that you could do with any given turn, actually would take a whole week to do. But I guess that just makes it easier than trying to split up things of, well, this action should take just about a day, whereas this action might take about a week, because I imagine moving across like the world map here in a sort of more realistic sense, I could see the argument that traveling all across the land might take a week. But some of the actions, like within a particular town, doesn't seem like those would be something that would take a whole week to do. But that's just a little slight nitpick that shouldn't really be counted against the game itself. It's just a weird, iffy thing on my part. But now that we're at the start of week 2, let's go ahead and come up to the Spellhold and see what we can find out here. Okay, so now that we're here, as you can see here at Spellhold, we have several people to talk to. These indicate that they're a part of some quest, if they have an exclamation mark. That doesn't necessarily mean that Dubak here wouldn't have a quest for us, but this definitely means that they are involved in a quest. And then there's the practices for this place. The challenge is a study at the library. Well, we know we're going to need to check out these characters here. So let's talk to Honorata. That's part of the main quest. So let's see what we can ascertain there. Merciful gods! Why did you have to bring a Baladin to my home? I'm here to pick up some wax cylinders. Indeed, we keep a lot of records in the Spellhold, but mainly about magical and scientific discoveries. If a Baladin has ever discovered and recorded anything significant in the last 1,000 years, it's surely here. Let's see. As expected, nothing. Baladin, I couldn't find any recordings from your guild. Songs and jokes are not our specialty here, I'm afraid. It's hopeless. Oh, the narrator now. It's hopeless. We need a miracle to find the lost archives of the Baladins. Alright, so our quest log updated for the lost archives, and it seems that all the archives of the Baladins have disappeared. What we're going to do next? I don't know. There's still an exclamation mark above Honorata, so let's see what else she might have to say. The Spellhold is not a circus. So, what is it you're looking for? Do you need help? Someone more mobile than me might be helpful. You see, I'm quite busy at the moment, and I have to visit the farm. The kid who lives there, she has potential. Great potential. I'd like her to come to the Spellhold so I could teach her magic, but she keeps on refusing. Maybe you can be more convincing? Okay. Can we talk about something? The time loop. I feel like that's not going to help us out, but let's just see what she might have to say. You explain the situation to Honorata. I see you wear the time traveler's stickers. Time loops are no laughing matter, but there's literature about them. She disappears for a moment through a door and comes back with the arms full of books. She starts browsing. Let me see. Ha! Right here. Yes. Clever. I can craft a talisman with an object full of will to persevere in its own state. Or a symbol of potential future. Bring me one of those things and I'll see what I can do. Alright, so that definitely updated our quest log. Where would that be? Right here, out of the loop. So I need to bring an ingredient grounded in the present to Honorata so she can craft a time talisman. Okay, I have no idea what that means. As well as going to the farm to talk to Blaise, however you pronounce that. Okay, goodbye. Now we can talk to Kashwa. Who are you? Who led you here? Okay. Oh, we can give Potent to him. Confirm? Potent, where were you? We have been so worried. Thank you for bringing our lost friend back. We were desperate. For your good deed, you are one of us now. Okay, do you need any help? Extra help? Of course we need help. We've been crying for help for years now. We light fires every night on the beach to draw attention, but no one will hear us. See this cave? It's right under the Spellhold and the sea keeps eroding the rock. It's a matter of weeks now before it all collapses and the Spellhold with it. And the people of Lumensac and Morinaz won't listen to us. Now they say we're criminals. But maybe we could put your skill to good use. Try to find a way to raise awareness of the people. We need to help avoid it. We need help to avoid disaster. Okay, so we took the Luton back here, and now we're supposed to try to warn the people that the Spellhold is about to crumble. Oh no! How dire. And any other ways? Do you need help elsewise? This cave is still at great risk. It will collapse soon and many people will die horribly. Oh no. Try to find a way to raise awareness. Oh, right. Okay, so we figured all of that out. So let's go ahead and leave. The only thing that we can really do, we have one more action point. We can talk to Dubak. I have no idea what Dubak might have to say. He doesn't have an exclamation mark over his head, so he might not actually be part of a quest. Wow, a Baladin! So cool. Do you need any help? Yeah, I'm in trouble. One of the gargoyles of the Spellhold has gone missing. Oh, Narada still hasn't noticed. Yet. But it's a matter of time. Please, find the gargoyle. I looked everywhere in the Spellhold, and I'm sure she's not here. Okay. What was this? Did we get another? We got another quest. Gargoyle. Dubak told you about a gargoyle that escaped from the Spellhold. He needs to find it. And so this is what a lot of going into a new area looks like, is talking to the people, getting these quests, and then it's kind of up to you to figure out how to solve it based off of the clues that they give you and where they tell you might need to go. And since the game is fairly small in its overall size of, landmass, there's these few different maps, and so it makes it easy to kind of just hop back and forth to different places to be able to do these things. So you can't always solve all of your quests at once. A lot of times what I've ended up having to do, especially since I've been playing solo with one character and having limited attribute points, I've had to kind of replay. I've had to kind of focus on what quests I want to focus on for each loop, and then go for it that way. But anytime I've entered a new place, I've kind of done this sort of scenario where I've gone to as many places as I can, pick up those quests and rumors, and then sort of just see how things unfold. And then from there, try to plan my loops around different quests. But for now, I think what we're going to do is I feel like we should go ahead and come back to Mornaz and see if we can't warn the people that Spellhold is about to crumble. So let's go ahead and do that. Although all I'll be able to do is just move here. And we're going to have to sacrifice some movement points. Oh, we got a random encounter. You meet the old fisher lady running on the road. Have you seen a Luton? She didn't say hello. This evil creature lit a fire on the coast and lured a fishing boat onto the rocks. No one was hurt, but this is the third time this month. This lunacy has to stop. Okay, so this is one of the things that happens when going through quests or going through encounters is you get different choices for how you can proceed in using your attributes. Again, this is another dice roll that happens that you can sort of rely on your strengths to overcome. So since we have an 8 creation, that means we technically only have to roll a 3 in order to succeed. So let's go ahead and use our creation skill to say a wrong direction. You come up with a direction to lure the fisherwoman away. We rolled a 4, so we just did it, actually. You roll a 4 plus 8 creation. Oh, right, it makes sense. We didn't look there, and it would be a perfect place to hide. I'm on my way. And the fisherwoman leaves with a surprisingly light foot. You don't know where she's heading and if it was a good idea to send her there. You feel a bit guilty about tricking her like that. But usually when you actually succeed on one of these rolls, you gain +1 of that skill. But we lost 1 finesse. Ooh, that's interesting. Let's go ahead and enter. And we can't do anything. Right. So unless we wanted to try to just move extra, we're gonna have to end the turn to a new week. So let's go ahead and into Mornaz here. And we can't chat with anybody. Interesting. I thought we would have been able to warn the people based off of the rising tide. Kashwa asks you to warn the people that the spell hold is about to crumble. Oh, did we mess up? We might have messed up. We might have just needed to do that at spell hold. So let's go back there and see if that's what we needed to do. You stumble upon a bunch of Baladins? Ah, I remember this. Hello. We're from the future. Don't panic. Something must have gone wrong with this time-space continuum. Kalobra starts to lose their touch. Please don't touch us. But you can ask us a question. Okay. Now this is really interesting. So, we're meeting ourselves. There's the cook. I imagine if we had a full party with us, we would look exactly like this. We can ask them how did they break the loop, how to break the loop, where the archives are, or if they want to have dinner. Let's ask them about the archives. The archives? It has to do with all this? We're not there yet. That's illogical, but whatever. If the solution can be found in the archives, that's a problem. There's not much left. Maybe someone really old would remember stuff? Nobody knows how long Newtons can live, for example. Even Newtons don't know. Yeah, an old Newton could remember things from the ancient past. They're just usually not very talkative. Okay. Do you know how to break the loop? Well, if we knew how to break the time loop, we'd not be here talking to you, duh. All we know is you have to feed Kalobra with symbols of peace between the people of Gatharak. But surely you knew that already. Okay. What are y'all doing for dinner? We haven't put much thought into this. You didn't, says the cook. Exactly. The cook has his mind screwed on right. I want something roasted. No, grilled. I need strength. I haven't had cake in a long time. You'll eat what you're served, says the cook. And as they speak, the image of the Baladin seems to fade in the air. You're left here alone. Was it a dream? Oh, that actually created a quest. You met your future self and they told you to find a very old Newton. Interesting. So I'm not sure who we would talk to here in order to warn them that the spell hold is going to crash down, is going to collapse. Let's see if we can just talk to, I don't know, Honorata back again? Let's see. Talk about the Time Talisman? Nope. Alright, leave. So we just wasted an action point there. I don't imagine Dubak has anything that we can say. And that's a nope. So, okay, there was nobody in Lumensac. That's probably where we needed to go. My bad. Alright, let's go over there then. I'll take 2 movement points. Let's see if there's anybody here. Enter it. There's a gargoyle that was based off of a quest here. Where was that? Dubak told you about a gargoyle that escaped from the spellhold. He needs to find it. And then there's Claude. Let's go ahead and talk to this gargoyle. You followed the track of screaming and running people to find a feral gargoyle. The beast is wreaking havoc in the streets of Lumensac. Let's make a show for the gargoyle, because again, that uses our creation skill. And we got 14, so we passed that with flying colors. You have the idea of putting up the tiniest show. In a closed booth, people can watch a series of light projections telling a story. It soon becomes quite famous, and people wait in line to watch the show. The gargoyle itself can't stand it. It really needs to see what's going on. You seize the opportunity and shove the gargoyle in your bag. Don't worry, it'll stop kicking your back eventually. And we obtained a gargoyle. Okay. What does that give us? +2 knowledge? That's interesting. What does the quest log say for that now? You caught the gargoyle. Now their destiny lies between your hands. Okay, so that was not the ending of it. There's 4 potential endings for this. And let's go ahead and talk to Claude here. Hello there. Welcome to Lumensac, the most beautiful city in the world. Okay. About Spellhold. It's crumbling! The Spellhold is going to crumble. By Textia, of course not. It was built by the people of Lumensac. It's indestructible. Want to buy some cheese? Okay, so obviously telling Lumensac about Spellhold doesn't do anything. And so now we're told to try to warn Mornaz. What's this about buying cheese? For 5 gold coins, eh? Let's do it. Calendos. And I lost 5 gold. Enjoy your calendos. Anything else? Do you want a gargoyle? At different points, you can give different characters different items. And it just opens up this thing. And sometimes it'll tell you, like, if they can't do anything with it, but... Is this a gift? Maybe it's best to save it for your quest. Right, okay. So, we can't give the gargoyle to them. Okay, we only have 1 movement point, so we're supposed to go back down to Mornaz to try to warn them. So, let's go ahead and come back here before we end the turn. And we're now in week 4. So what we're going to do, let's go back here, see what happens with trying to warn Mornaz. And who would we talk to? Okay, I can't chat with anybody. This is weird. They didn't care that much. Try to warn Mornaz. I can't tell anybody. Is that because I sent that Fisher lady off? I can't tell them anything. Weird. Okay. So that's interesting. I might not actually be able to do that. Strange. Alright, so... we're kind of running a bit of out of time here. So what I wanted to do, I was hoping to get through a whole loop. We're on week 4. Each loop is 6 weeks. But short of, you know, being here for another half hour or so, what we can do here is we can go ahead and end the loop. So that I can sort of show you what that process looks like. So basically, you'll go through each of these different loops. You'll accumulate different quests that you can do. You can do different things to try to solve them in a good or bad manner. If you get good endings, it'll be marked as having been completed. Otherwise, you can kind of come back in different loops to pick them up again and try to get a different turnout. So at the end, you'll go through 6 different turns. And once you get through the 6th turn, what happens is you'll be faced with the dragon at the end of that during the final week. So I'll show you what happens there. We'll just flash forward to the final week where you're faced with Colobra. This is the dragon that kind of consumes time and sends you back in time. So Colobra says, "Ah, the Baladins again. Does it mean you found things to feed me? Remember, the more meaningful these items are, the more delicious they are to me." And so he will then basically wipe your inventory And as he wipes your inventory, as you feed him, this bar accumulates or gets bigger and bigger. And I'm assuming once you fill this bar, that's kind of towards the end game. And what you can do is you can select different things to. You can select one thing to carry over into your next loop. But as you can see, if you take it over to the next loop, its impact diminishes from the bar. And what Colobra was talking about in terms of items that are more meaningful, having a bigger impact, that is reflected here as well. Usually, you get those more impactful rewards and those more impactful items by completing quests. So the more that you complete quests, and specifically, especially if you get the good endings, the best endings for those quests, you usually get the best item. The better that item is, the more that it fills up this gauge here and progresses you to get to the end of the game. But I want to keep the cart model because it gives us these really nice bonuses in extending our movement points and our finesse sort of right off the bat. The rest of these don't really give us a ton of great things. And the thing that you can carry over, since it is assigned to this cook, what that could mean is I could play this game, I could play a different loop with a different character and take over something different with that character, but that becomes character bound. So this cart model can only be carried over with my next cook loop, if that makes any sense. But we're going to keep the cart model and we're going to continue. And then Colobra here will have some different comments based off of the items that you get. And it can also give you some hints as to what you might do with different things. So see, we got that gargoyle, and he's telling us how some people would benefit more if you gave them this lost gargoyle. And basically gives a comment that, you just need to keep bringing him stuff before he has to eat time itself. But for now, he'll send you all back in time, and you gotta start all over again. So that's what Baladins looks like. That's what a loop of Baladins looks like. This gives you a bit of a run recap that can tell you different achievements that you've sort of done throughout that loop. It gives you some different stats on how you've progressed in your profile. As you can see, I've given 26 items out of 135 possible ones to give to Colobra. And as you can see, this gives you different stats on how many good quest endings you've explored and how many bad quest endings you've explored. So that gives you some more context about how you've done, sort of in that sense. But ultimately, Baladins has been a really great experience. It's been a fun, immersive, and cozy time to just go through these different loops. And as a solo playthrough, it, like I said before, it kind of becomes a bit more of a puzzle-like experience where you're having to know what items and people to talk to on any given loop to get the best quest outcome that you can. And so I really enjoy the time loop aspect that really relies more on your knowledge than it does getting different skill abilities and your skill as a player. It's a very cozy and relaxing game in that sense, and it's never really stressful. You don't have to worry about big combat scenarios or things like that. It's a really good game for kind of chilling out. I imagine this would be incredible for multiplayer with co-op. I could see how it would really simulate that board game element very well. That is much more typical, I think, with tabletop role playing, of just being able to get with friends and have a good time. And that's kind of how it feels playing this game. And so I really enjoy that. Once you press continue, it tells you that that's the end of the loop, and I've completed our 14th loop, and you can continue. If you continue, it'll just sort of give you the option to select your hero and select your region that you want to start out in, or you can quit. If we hit continue, I'll show you that. Because now that we've been to Lumensac, we can actually select it here. And that's another part of the sort of the strategy in terms of handling some of these different quests is where you start can make the difference between spending a whole turn on getting somewhere versus just being right where you need to be to get your questing going. But ladies and gentlemen, that's about all the time I have for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this little look at Baladins. It's a great game. I think this game is amazing. It's well worth the time and the money. If you're interested in Baladins, check the description down below. There will be a link to the Steam store page. Give these developers your support. They've been providing updates. It's playable on the Steam Deck. I've played a few sessions on the Steam Deck myself. If you have a Steam Deck and are looking for some fun, cozy games to sort of lose some time in, Baladins is a great one to do that for. So, other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is where we'll end off for this video. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. Let me know how I'm doing down in the comments section down below. But other than that, guys, I will catch you all in the next video. Cheers.